On Thursday's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Big Flip Livingstone and Steele Roden, it's time for a little international dive into the top 5 Russian fantasy studs in the NHL. And of course, we got to pay the bills, baby. It's a 12-game slate. We got picks, locks of the night, and DFS targets ready to roll, baby. Let's ride.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the betting, gambling, and degenerate DFS lab. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, alongside my esteemed and distinguished co-host, Mr. Steele Roden. We are here for episode number 56 of the reboot of this show. Thank you so much, guys, for making us your first listen every single day. Steele and I really appreciate that. Please continue to show us the love by smashing the subscribe button, the follow button, drop us a review. We love the feedback, and we are just getting warmed up on today's show, everybody. You know we're diving deep into the 12-game DFS and big-time betting board, picks, locks of the night. Guys, you got to keep your eye on. But I'm really excited for today's chat, Steele, because we teased it a little bit in yesterday's episode. We are breaking down the top 5 Russian fantasy studs in the NHL, the top 5 most impactful Russian players from a fantasy perspective. This is going to be a fun episode. Today you'll get number 5 and number 4. Stay tuned for the top 3 in tomorrow's episode. Steele, we were talking about it a little bit off air. We have some differing opinions here. Shocker. I'm excited to hear who you have in your top 5, my friend. Let's get right into it. Top 5 Russian players in the NHL. Lots of good names to choose from, my friend.
Yeah, I figured that, for the most part, we would have the same 5 guys in our list, but the order of it would probably be a little bit different from each other. So yes. I'm excited to see who you have in your top 3 spots. But to start off at number 5, I've got Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues. I don't think a lot of people would have him on your list, but for me, I have to have him at number 5. 67 points in 66 games this year. I absolutely love the way he plays the game. 509 points in 597 games throughout his entire career. He's played, 9 seasons in the NHL. You can probably, bump it down a little bit to, even maybe 7, maybe 8, just because of the injuries that cost him a lot of games the last 2 seasons. But he's had a fantastic career. He's just averaged just under a point throughout his entire career. I just like the calmness to his game. Everything is smooth with the puck. He doesn't get too, he doesn't get in his head about things. He's calm with it. He's smooth with his ability, stick handling ability, passing, finding guys on his line. And I think there's just too much skill to pass up on for me. Vladimir Tarasenko at number 5.
I think you make a really interesting point with Tarasenko, and it's the injury factor. Because I think if he's not injured, he might even be higher up this list on a lot of people's top 5 Russians, because this is one of those scenarios, Steele, that there's just so much talent at the to try and cram into 5 spaces that someone's going to get left off the list. And, Evgeni Malkin is that guy for me. Tease, we won't ruin your whole list, but he just misses the mark because, like you said, guys like Tarasenko have been more effective this year. This isn't the legacy NHL Russian chat. This is the top 5 most effective fantasy players in the game. And I think Tarasenko deserves to be in the conversation. Let's see if he makes my list. But, man, has he been good for the St. Louis Blues ever since he's cracked the league, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's been absolutely great. And even before the season started, I think I mentioned this a little bit before. I had him way up in my my mock draft before the season started for fantasy leagues. I had him up believe in round 7 or round 8 even. A lot of other people that I knew had him back in around 11 or 12. I knew he was going to step up from this injury. Like a lot of people don't do actually, but I felt like he was the skill that he has, the capability that we've seen in the past. He's just one of those guys.
You mentioned injury, and that's one of the more intriguing parts of the guy that I want to talk about at my 5 spot in Nikita Kucharov. And, we talked about it quickly off air, and the, let's say, slick moving front office for the Tampa Bay Lightning really has Kucherov been injured? Because the man comes back from LTIR, he comes back from injury, and he absolutely looks like he hasn't missed a beat. So there might be some fishy business going on there, but that's not what we're here to speculate on. What we're here to prove is Nikita Kucherov. Come on, man. This is one of the more elusive and just effortless offensive wizards. Just some soft hands. 2019 Hart, Pearson, Art Ross has 128 goals and 231 assists over his past 4 seasons. In only 268 regular season games, he is a pure point per game kind of player. And you know what, Steele? 15 goals and 31 assists in 38 games this season clearly still proves that he has it. And how about take a look at the Tampa Bay Lightning's recent track record? Yeah, pretty good. And Kucherov has been right there in the mix as a big reason why. I just like to watch that guy play, Steele. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I have him at number 4 on my top 5 Russian list right now for fantasy players. And beside his rookie season, you pretty much said it. This guy's been an elite player, averaging well over a point, being one of the best players in the league at one point when he won the Hart Trophy, 128 points in an 82-game season. So he's been absolutely electrifying to watch. To me, he's the exact reflection of Alexander Ovechkin, except for the physicality for his game, an electrifying shot to his game. But I think he's a very, very underrated playmaker as well. We see that he racks up the assists. Like you said, 13 goals. He's got way more assists throughout his entire career. He's got so much vision on the ice. It's incredible to watch. That's why he's at number 4 for me.
That's really impressive, too, to say something as good of a shooter and as good of a finisher as Kucherov is, to say that his strongest suit is playmaking and passing. That says a lot about the overall quality to this guy's game. And thank you for mentioning Mr. Alex Ovechkin, because I think we'd both be remiss to not have him in the top 5. I'm going to take some heat for not having him in the top 3 as he slots in on number 4. And that's okay, Steele. I'm out here with the hot takes. I don't think this is too hot of a take, though, because I'm just leaving it at this. Because I look at fantasy value on a longevity scale. Ovi is not going to be in the top 5 for too much longer. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm playing the long game here a little bit. But what else can there be said about Alex Ovechkin that hasn't been said before? For me, Steele, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, growing up, watching the Leafs, watching this guy absolutely kill the Leafs in the playoffs, in the regular season, on the road, at home, Ovechkin is one of my favorite players ever to watch play the game, and he is special. 46 goals, 39 assists this year, chasing Wayne Gretzky's goal mark. I think a lot of conversations can begin and end right there, because that right there is something special. Leading Russian goal scorer, leading Russian point getter. Man, this guy is special, and he can still get it done. Hits, shots, power play points, game-winning goals. And you mentioned it before, Steele, and I'll tee it off over to you. How about durability?
Yeah.
And rarely missing games, which is maybe the most important fantasy asset there is out there.
Look, I don't want to get too deep into Alex Ovechkin, because I think at this point, if people have listened into a couple of our episodes, everyone knows my opinion of Alex Ovechkin and how important he is to fantasy leagues. Teasing for tomorrow's episode, but he's at my number 1 position. Whoa. I'm a little bit shocked that he's not in your top 3. We'll get into that when we talk about him being at number 1 for me. But, I know you're looking at the longevity long-term for Alex Ovechkin. I still think he's top 5 in fantasy leagues for the next 2, maybe even 3 seasons. So he's just that good, in my opinion.
He is that good. And look, we are that good at doing what we do, Steele. That's highlighting players, DFS, big-time bets. That's coming up around the corner. This is a great conversation that we're going to continue tomorrow. Our top 3 Russian fantasy studs in the game. Stay tuned. Come back for tomorrow's episode. You know where to find us across all platforms you find your favorite content. So make sure you do not sleep on that, and stay tuned for big-time bets coming up around the break. But first, you need to know about betonline.net as your number 1 source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, and everything you need to know about the basketball playoffs and the kickoff of the MLB season It is a great time for sports, so make sure you are hitting up BetOnline. It is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs to esports and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and all the action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. For your next listen, you have to check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. You don't want to miss out on all the highlights. I know Flip and I don't. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like this podcast right here. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, and once you do, you will get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they're available each and every day, Monday to Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. Let's dive right into this big Thursday night for DFS selections. 12 games on the schedule, Flip.
Nice.
And, again, just like the last couple of days, I haven't been doing well with the big time bets, but the DFS selections have been hitting for me.
It's true.
And I'm going to stay focused with the big schedule on Thursday.
Thank you.
I'm looking at that Calgary Flames Vegas Golden Knights matchup for my DFS selections.
Okay.
I'm taking that top line, Matthew Tkachuk, Elias Lindholm. If I have enough money, of course, with Johnny Gaudreau, but I'm also throwing some money on the blue line with Rasmus Anderson. I think he's been super underrated, having one of the best years throughout his entire NHL career with the Calgary Flames this season. The Flames are on absolute fire. The Vegas Golden Knights are falling down in the standings. I still don't believe they're going to make the playoffs. I'm going with the Calgary Flames top line. I think they're just way too good.
The Calgary Flames are one of, and I've said this a bunch of times, but one of those teams that I am really excited to see that NHL playoff level test. I want to see what their additions can do. I want to see if this team is for real, because I think it's clear that they've not been able to get it done come springtime. They made some additions. Johnny Gaudreau is having a very special season, triple digits in points, back to the kind of player that I think we all expected him to be. And I think until we see something that the Calgary Flames slow up, which they haven't, you have to continue to go back to the well here, Steele. We've said that before as well. Let's hear where else you're headed, where else you're looking, because I think, and I said it yesterday, we have to continue to hammer these elite teams with the last few games left. Because why? They're the best teams in the league for a reason, right? Like, let's go.
And it also means much for some of these teams for positioning in the standings as well. For one of these teams, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're fighting for position in that Atlantic Division, looking to get home ice advantage. They played the Anaheim Ducks on Thursday night, and that's exactly where I'm going. And because I'm spending most of my money in that Calgary Flames game with that top line, because they're just that darn good, I got to dial it back a little bit, and I'm looking towards that second line for the Tampa Bay Lightning. John Cooper and the Lightning organization, they're changing up the lines. Like I mentioned before, they're trying to figure out some different line chemistries for the playoffs, because as we know, you have to change things on the fly when things get a little bit tougher in the battles in the playoffs. So they're trying some different lines out right now. Steven Stamkos, Ross Colton, and Nick Paul on the second line. Ross Colton moving to the right wing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I want to see how they do against this Anaheim Ducks team, because as we know, the Ducks have been terrible since
bad.
Middle of January practically.
So bad.
I want to see how they do. I'm going to throw Victor Hedman in there as well, because he's one of the top D-men in the league. He's been one of the top D-men in the league for so many years now. Those are the guys I'm looking at for DFS selections. What about you, Flip?
I think we've talked about this team probably on and off. Well, by now we've talked about every team on and off, but I think it was one of those teams that you and I started to really circle in terms of a great top 9 offensive depth, and that's the St. Louis Blues. I like this spot on the road against the Buffalo Sabres. We know the Sabres have had the Leafs number over the past month, the second half of the season, but this is the St. Louis Blues. This is a St. Louis Blues team that is battling the Minnesota Wild for positioning in their division, and I think they will not miss an opportunity like this going up against the Sabres team that we've talked about a lot. We like some of the things going on there, but they still don't have a goalie. They still don't have a solid bottom 6, and their defense still leaves so much to be desired, even with Owen Power back there. tease for big time bets coming up, but the Blues are 14-3 in their last 17 overall against the Buffalo Sabres. And I think you really can't go wrong with the top line, the second line, or even the third line getting some action with Jordan Kyrou, who's starting to pick it up again. I think that's where I'd be looking, Steele. Oh, also, how about a red-hot Ville Husso in the cage that you can't go wrong against the Buffalo Sabres with a selection?
Ville Husso has been, the light that really has set St. Louis above and beyond this season, doing a fantastic job. And I don't know about you, but that's probably – I've talked a lot about the New York Rangers versus Pittsburgh Penguins first-round matchup as one of the matchups I really want to watch and I'm really excited for. Yeah. I don't know about you at this point, but the one matchup I am really looking forward to is that St. Louis Blues Minnesota Wild matchup.
There, you know me, man. I'm a degenerate gambler. I'm excited for almost every single one, but those ones that have a little bit of track record, and that's a good rivalry brewing between the Blues and Wild. I know you got some. I hope you got some juice running on the Wild to win the cup.
I do.
There he is. That's what I like to hear, my friend. Let's get some more bets rolling. But where else are you looking, or shall we dive into big time bets?
I think we should dive right into big time bets. Like we mentioned, sometimes with these big nights, 12 games on the schedule, you got to stay a little bit more focused. There are some juicy games out there, and there are a lot of talented players to look out for. But the games and the players that Flip and I have highlighted, stay tuned for those games Thursday night and for DFS selections. Let's jump over to big time bets. But first, thank you so much for tuning in to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, making it your first listen every day. Make sure to hit the subscribe, the follow button. Once you do, you'll get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And thank you so much for tuning in. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. Flip, I got to throw it over to you. I've been doing super, super terrible the last 2 weeks. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not even sure I want to throw my 3 picks out there. I'll throw it over to you because you have been absolutely dominating and bringing the money home.
Listen, my friend, I appreciate the love, but this is the thing about throwing your opinion and your bets and your money out there on the internet every single day. Sometimes you're going to take it on the chin. Even the pros go on cold streaks, Steele. And I think what's important about for the people that have stayed true to listening to our show is your DFS picks are still money. It's okay that you've gone a little cold because this is a team ship, baby, and I got you. So listen up, everybody. The kid will be back. But I'm going right to this first game that I'm looking at, Steele, Washington Capitals at Toronto Maple Leafs. I haven't taken the Leafs in too many games, and the ones that I have, they have burned me. I think they've burned you as well. That has nothing to do with anything, everything to do with how hot the Washington Capitals are here in this situation, and a good track record against the Maple Leafs of late. 5-1 the Capitals are in their last 6 trips to Toronto. 8-4 in their last 12 against the Leafs overall. And the Washington Capitals, for whatever reason, Steele, absolutely dominate teams within their own conference. How about 11 straight wins against the Eastern Conference? They love the East cooking. They are a good road team as well. I love the odd here as well, Steele. This is going to be a close game. Both these teams headed to the playoffs. Both these teams trying to round into form. But for plus 135 on the money line, Steele, after the way the Leafs looked against the Sabres, it could be another lull here. We know this team likes to do this. Reel off 7 or 8 beauties and then a couple duds. It could be another dud night, and I'm banking on that. Capitals on the road on the money line, plus 135.
And hey, you can't go wrong with Washington, especially with that huge win. You took them on the puck line the other night against the Philadelphia Flyers. So can't go wrong with Washington on the road against Toronto, especially at plus 135, like you said. The first game I'm looking at, and look, I've been struggling the last 2 weeks, and sometimes when you're struggling and you're in a little bit of a slump, you have to dial it back a little bit, play a little bit safer, just so you know you have your limits when you're gambling and with big time bets. So I'm gonna dial it back a little bit, play a little bit safer, just to get back in the zone. I'm taking the Hurricanes on the money line against the Detroit Red Wings. These are still important games and big wins, and big 2 points up for grabs for the Hurricanes as they still trying to hold on to first position in the Metropolitan. The New York Rangers, Washington, Pittsburgh still up for grabs as well. So I'll take the Hurricanes on the money line against the Red Wings every single time.
Steele, This is okay, my friend. This is a new show. We are just getting warmed up. Lots more picks. And the last time I checked, you still had a winning record. So that's all that matters. Let's continue to just build this baby back up brick by brick. I mentioned that I like the spot for the St. Louis Blues in Buffalo. I like it a lot, Steele. The Blues are 14-3 in their last 17 overall. And how about the Blues are 11-4 in their last 15 in Buffalo? The Blues have won 6 in a row. Is that right? 6 in a row for the Blues?
Yes,
man,
sir.
They're looking good. I had to make sure I checked that stat right there. But let's get serious here. The Sabres have had a good run against the Leafs. The Blues are in an absolute dogfight against the Minnesota Wild. You know I like me some dogfights. I'm not going to miss out on an opportunity for a good Blues team that you and I have talked up a bunch on this team. I'm not on this show. I'm not going away from them here. On the road, that's okay. They will dominate Buffalo tonight.
Yeah.
Blues on the puck line, -1.5 for a juicy +130 odd. Sabres are getting some good respect. That means I'm getting some good odd on the St. Louis Blues on the road. That's not my lock of the night, though. That's coming up in one hot minute, Steele.
I'm excited to hear what you have for your lock of the night. My second pick, again, playing it safe. Going to take the Chicago Blackhawks on the money line against the San Jose Sharks. San Jose Sharks just lost in overtime 1-0 to the Nashville Predators. So not doing a lot offensively. They have some trouble in net as well. Just a ton of injuries to the lineup for the last couple of months as well. So looking for the Blackhawks on the money line. I'm still waiting for Alex DeBrincat to get his 40th of the season because I called that before the season started. So waiting for him to pot one in, hopefully against the San Jose Sharks. But that isn't my lock of the night. The lock of the night for myself is the Tampa Bay Lightning on the money line against the Anaheim Ducks. I'm going 3 money line bets for Thursday. Hopefully they all hit.
3 money line bets, 3 heavy favorites, but if they win, they win. Winners are winners. That's all that matters. You decide out there what you're betting. You decide out there what you're parlaying. We're trying to feed you some winners. Steele's going to be back, but I got you until then. Like I said, Steele, lock of the night. Hey, baby, Pittsburgh has been sliding. Evgeni Malkin took a dumb suspension for 4 games. This is a tough spot for this Pittsburgh Penguins team to be in. We know the Washington Capitals and then of Alex Ovechkin are breathing down their necks for that third spot, a critical third spot. I don't think the Pittsburgh Penguins are as bad as they've played over the 2 weeks, Steele. And I know that I mentioned to you who makes that team go. It's Sidney Crosby. It's number 87. He is still one of the best players in the league. He's having a great season. And wait a sec. I mentioned this to you off air. When you think about teams, you think about famous players like Crosby, you think, oh man, he really does torch certain teams. What's one of those teams? The New York Islanders. And I know the Islanders just beat them, but this is a good revenge spot, good bounce back spot for the Pittsburgh Penguins. In 77 career regular season games, Sidney Crosby has 39 goals and 86 assists for 125 points. Those are insane numbers. You know I like those head-to-head trends, Steele. Let's keep this one real simple for my lock of the night. It's banged for me multiple times this year. You're not going to get a great odd. It's not up yet. Sidney Crosby, anytime assist, that's free money for me tonight against the New York Islanders in a big bounce back spot for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You can lock that one in, my friend.
Hey, every single time you've bet on Sidney Crosby anytime assist, it's hit for you. So I'm gonna have to put some money on it. I'm gonna have to put some money down on Sidney Crosby as well for an anytime assist against the New York Islanders. He absolutely dominates them every single time. You're absolutely right.
Impressive.
So flips, lock of the night, anytime assist from Sidney Crosby. My lock of the night, money line, the Tampa Bay Lightning on the money line against the Anaheim Ducks. Pencil it in, lock it in, put your money down. Flip's been absolutely killing it. So put your money down on Sidney Crosby, anytime assist, and the 2 other bets that he made as well. Thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, making it your first listen every day. If you want more gambling advice on what you should pick, but for not just hockey, make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, it's hosted by your boy Q with insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like this podcast right here. So if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Once you do, you'll get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they're available each and every day, Monday to Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. You don't want to miss out on all the hot takes. Flip and I have a lot of content coming up going into the postseason, going into the summer as well. So you want to be subscribed so you get the latest episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets tonight. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.